Hey guys, Paul from Net Audio here, and what we're going to talk about today is the PAC AmpPro. If you ever talk to us about adding any sort of audio to your truck, then it's one of the solutions that comes up. Now, there's the AP4, and the AP4 is the full 6-channel version, but then there's also the AmpPro sub. So we're going to touch quickly on both of them, what the advantages and disadvantages are of each one, and then we're also going to walk you through doing an installation. We get a lot of people who watch our channel and they watch all of our how-tos and stuff on installing amplifiers and everything, and they always ask about how do I put this in, how do I take my radio out. So we're going to touch base on that real quick. We have our AP sub, and what we're working on today, this is a 2024 Ram Crew 1500 Limited. So it has the Harman Kardon system and every bell and whistle on it. I really like this truck. What we're doing is we're adding the AmpPro, but if you buy the AmpPro, the AP4 or the AP sub, it comes with this harness. This is the harness from 2013 to 2021. On the older model trucks, this works fantastic, does everything you want. If you have a 22 and up, then you have to buy this adapter harness that comes from PAC. Now, all right guys, sorry, we had a little bit of a screw up. After we recorded this, PAC decided that they were coming out with these parts as a single whole unit instead of having to be a separate harness that you had to buy. So we had to crop this and change things up a little bit. Just as a note, if it's after 2022, you need the harnesses labeled 42. If it's before 2022, so 21 and down, then you buy the regular CH41 version, whether it's the AP4 or the AP sub. That is all. In this application, we're only doing a subwoofer. The way the factory amplifier works is there is no full range audio available in the whole truck other than behind the radio. Say you have a base model radio, you have front left, front right, rear left, rear right. There's 4 channels of audio coming out of the back of the radio. In these applications, there's only a left and a right, and they're what's called a fixed level audio signal. If I pull the radio out and I think I'm going to get a full range signal from behind the radio and I tap into these speaker wires and I turn the truck on, it's just going to be full bore loud. There is no turning it down. The steering wheel controls don't respond, the radio control doesn't respond, it's just loud. The way Mopar does it is that signal goes from the radio to the amplifier, your Alpine or your Harman amplifier, and then the amplifier is told through data to split it all up. It's told to do volume through data, your fade and balance through data, your EQ changes off your radio are told through data, your backup sensor beeps are added to the amp through data. I mean, there's so much stuff that's being added through the data stream. The old school way of having to get a full range signal is signal summing. So you have to go tap into the front tweeters, and you have to tap into the front doors, you have to tap into the subwoofer. Well, if you have backup sensors, which all the new trucks do, well, now you have to tap into the back doors also, because they play out of the back doors. It's just a mess. Enter the PAC AmpPro. This is plug and play behind your radio. It takes the audio signals, takes the data signals, and it interprets and deciphers them to give you usable variable volume RCA output, gives you a remote turn on, gives you a subwoofer volume knob. It is everything all in a box. It's all plug and play. It's easier than installing a radio, but it gives you better output than a traditional aftermarket radio. This makes our life so much simpler. Then a few years later, they came out with the AP sub. It's just a subwoofer application. It does not play full range. So for people who have the Harman Kardon, who have the Alpine system and want to add a subwoofer but not change anything else, but they want the flattest, truest frequency response, then you use the AP sub. We make our harnesses that plug in on the factory subwoofer plugs, and that's something we've done for freaking ever. And they work great if you're not like super critical, because tapping in on the factory subwoofer plug is catching it post amp. You're getting the equalization and processing that Harman and Alpine have already done. On Rams, the frequency response plays up to a more traditional frequency range around 70 to 80 hertz. Earlier premium systems, the subwoofer only played like down like around 50, 40 hertz and down. You know, it only played the really low stuff. So if you tapped into that, and fed that to your new amplifier, well, it would sound okay on wrap, but when you switched over to rock, it didn't play high enough. So if you were used to aftermarket subs and aftermarket radio, you have this perception of how high the subwoofer should be playing in that frequency range. So you play your same songs you've always played and you're like, where's my bass? Why isn't it playing out of here? But on some songs it sounds great. With RAM, tapping on the factory sub, it plays up high enough so that way you're not having to, you know, chase and do signal summing and do all this other stuff. That's a great solution. But if you want it to play higher, if you want the flattest frequency response, the best unmolested audio signal you can get, then you use the PAC AP sub. This gives you your left and right, still gives you a remote turn on, still gives you subwoofer volume, but it only plays up to 250 hertz. So it's not full range audio, but it will give you what you need for your subwoofer to play up high enough for you to do what you want it to out of that truck. If you're wanting to get the best signal, this is the best way to go, and we're going to tear the truck apart and show you how everything goes, and we'll, you know, give you a step-by-step on how to get it installed. So just check Austin out.
All right, so we have today a 2024 Ram Limited that we're doing an AP sub in. We get asked a lot, how do you pull these radios, or I'm too afraid to pull this radio. So we have the 12-inch version on this truck. The 8-inch version is still the same. I think you can still get one with a 5-inch if it's like a work model truck. But these radios are super simple to come out. It just looks scary. There's 2 bolts up here that are under this cover. So you pop your cover out. Now it's a Phillips or 7 combo. I'm going to use my angle drill and pull these out. We call this the yeet method because you just have to yeet it off of here. It's held in with really tight clips that we have to pull. And I typically like to start at the bottom. And if that doesn't work, then you just come up to the top, get a firm grasp, like in SpongeBob. Grab it and twist, but don't twist, just... And you'll get it out. And like I said, they're held on there very tightly. So the trim handle around here just came off with it. So we're move that aside. But now you have your big old screen. So this is your screen. This is literally just the display back here. So you can unplug all this stuff, because you're gonna have to plug it back in later. This is the power connector here for your screen. This is the most important one. This is the video cable for the actual unit. There is a push tab down here. So you're going to want to push this tab in. And it's really hard to do. And kind of just wiggle it up and it comes out. It's called a LVDS cable. Super proprietary for high-end audio and video stuff. But once you have that out, you now have your radio out. We like to put it on the counter away from our work area for the time being. So because I'm going to be in the truck, I want it away from me. That way we don't have any accidents with it. We've got our AP sub and we're going to take the factory. This is the stereo. So we're going to take the stereo out, unplug it, plug in the AP sub module, and I'll show you where you can mount it sometimes. It just depends on your package and what space is available. So I've already got the 4 screws out. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those are just the 7 mils or a Phillips. And then you pull this out and this is what you have. Alright, so we have locking retainers here. On this one, you just pop them up. And plug. Be very careful to try and not bend any of the other connectors. If you hit it too hard or bend it in any direction, it's likely that you'll ruin it or snap something off that you don't want to. Now we have our AP module. We're just going to plug it into the factory. And then we take the factory connectors. And make sure you lock it back. Alright, now that's in there and secure. They're not going anywhere. Now, I'm not going to mount the module right this second because I still have to run the RCAs up here. If we look in the dash back here, there's a metal box on the 24 and ups. What you can do is double side tape right on the back of this module. Stick that back here in whichever direction you want. On the 23 models, I know in particular, you can mount this a little bit easier. So once you put this back in here, Make sure everything's going in. Don't force it. I'm going to get a screw and hold it. Alright, so now that the actual radio head's back in, I routed the harness down here. So now the harness will come out from here. And you can plug this in. Now what you can do is you can double side tape the bottom here to the shelf that's up here. Now, on this particular one, I had moved the center console out so I can run the bass knob. But you can tape this up here. You can zip tie it down here if you want. I mean, wherever you feel comfortable putting it is going to be fine. As long as it's secure and not just bouncing around, you'll be all right. So now we have our AP module here. We have our RCAs. I like to put a quick disconnect on here in case you ever have to service it later. I'm pretty sure Paul said something about this in his video. Don't touch the dip switches. Directional signal. So we always want to make sure that this is connected in the right direction. So most people would be comfortable with just putting it in here like that. I am as well, but I'm also going to put a piece of double-sided tape on it, just because I don't want, if you hit a corner real sharp, like some people do, I don't want to hear something sliding. Double-sided tape. Don't cover up your serial number, because if you ever have to get this replaced or warranted, there's no serial number, so don't cover that up. We're just going to stick it on this module back here. Route this kind of back and away, and then the RCAs, I'm actually going to pull the slack out down here at the bottom. So now I can take this unit and finagle all these wires back into the dash. Now I did this kind of out of order because I'm working back to front on this one, but ideally start with the PAC module, because it gives time for the radio system to kind of like reset and relearn the truck. If you do it last and then immediately turn the system on, you might notice that you lose some features that won't be available. It's because the truck hasn't communicated back with the BCM and stuff yet. We get asked a lot, like a lot. Where do we put our sub knobs? So when we're using an AP module, AP4, APSUB, we're going to use this one because it's really small, got a low profile. On these rams in particular, there's a few spots that you can put them. The most common for me and that customers like the most is right here. Now this is the shifter bezel trim. We'll drill a hole right here on the front and it'll go here. There's plenty of space in the back. There's no obstructions on the dash or anything either. Another spot is right here next to the dimmer switch or on top. I've had a customer ask me to have it up on top as well. Now if you're using a bigger style knob like this one, you can mount it down here. There is no airbag here, so you can mount it down here if you want. You can move it over here. Also in here, if you don't have the adjustable foots or the cargo, you can mount this knob back here rather easily, or this one if you flush mount it as well. ANC bypass. Factory amp on 1500s is under the seat. So we're gonna unplug this. This is the middle one, the gray connector. So we're gonna unplug that. Grab the included ANC bypass and just plug this in. It is a very, very tight fit. So make sure you don't bend the pins, because it has happened. So that goes there. And it is upside down from the way you would be looking at it, and then plug into there. That's it. Remember, be very careful with the white plug. And then, last one. Okay. So this is just set in here for now. In case I have to pull it back out, I don't want to yank those clips again.
All right, guys, hopefully that cleared up a lot of stuff. For the dash reassembly, you know, obviously it's just going to go back together the way that it came apart. But pro tip here, and if you noticed, this is what Austin did. Leave it apart a little bit so you can do all your testing and diagnosing first, and it's going to save you a lot of headache in the future. We do have some follow-up videos where we're talking more in depth about the AmpPro and about our interfaces and what they do. We also talk about the Epicenter from Audio Control and what it does and why we chose it for this particular installation. Be sure to check those out, and I'll also include the links down in the description below. And again, I know it's a lot of information, but these are questions we get asked a lot. You know, hit us up in the bottom in the comments if you have any questions or anything about this installation or about the products being used. We'll be glad to answer your questions. You can also give us a call at the shop, 940-767-1800. We're always offering tech support to go along with the products we're selling. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or you can always shoot me an email, paul@netaudio.com. Thanks, guys.